Welcome back, darlings, for another book recommendation video. This video I'm going to focus on graphic novels. I haven't done a book suggestion video about graphic novels before. I have done normal novels and I have done manga, and I thought I wanted to do a list of some of my more favorite graphic novels in the horror genre that is perfect for Halloween. I sometimes feel like novels isn't enough to give the creeps. Sometimes you would like the visual to make it really stand out and really creep under your skin to feel that spookiness for Halloween. Which is why mangas and graphic novels really help with that. I also like the fact with graphic novels they do have color, and I love the colors, especially when it's very gory stories or a lot of blood, because it's red everywhere, which is very lovely to me. I have picked a few. Some are more graphic than others. Some are more psychological horror for those who are into that, and I'm going to list them in no order at all. I like them equally as much, especially because they are all very different to each other, so it's hard to compare them. And if you're into graphic novels, I do recommend you check these out. I will not speak about graphic novels that is very well known and very big and huge, because I'm guessing you already have read them or you already been suggested to them. So I will try to pick a few that is lesser known and maybe more interesting that way. So without further ado, let's start with the first one. The first one is called Safari Honeymoon by Jessie Jacobs. I feel like the art style of this one is very psychedelic and mesmerizing in one way. It's also very simplistic. I feel like the story and the art together make it into a very surrealistic graphic novel, which makes it extremely odd in a way. The story is very straightforward. We follow a couple who is on a honeymoon, and they have a guide who takes them on a safari. On the safari they meet a lot of monsters, a lot of bugs and animals, and they are all trying to kill the couple and the guide. And they try to take them down in different kind of ways. You also have a few pests who's trying to nestle into your ears or your mouth to take over your brain, and it's a very different kind of story. It also have the husband who is out on the safari to kill all the bugs and animals that he do see, so you have a lot of questions about, is that right to go into a safari and just bring a gun and shoot everything down? But at the same time, everything that they meet are also trying to murder them. So maybe they do need the guns for protections as well. But it brings out a very interesting questioning about that. It's also, I don't know, the style of this is very odd, but at the same time very, very good. It's only one book and it does not have a lot of dialogue, so I think you can swoosh through this one rather quickly. I remember after finishing it, I was like a big question mark and questioning a lot of things. But I still thought it was really, really good, and I do recommend it. It's not your typical horror book, but I still think I will put it into the horror category because of the bugs that's trying to kill you and the strange world around it. Yeah, I can't say too much without spoiling what is going to happen in it, but I do recommend reading it. Another book that I have on my list is Harrow County by Colin Bunn. I love this one. Both the art style but also the storytelling did remind me of the Brother Grimm story. It's very dark fairy tale for me. And this story, it is a witch story in a sense. We follow a young girl called Emmy. She's turning 18 and suddenly everyone in her village wants to kill her, including her dad. But she doesn't understand why, and she takes protection in the forest, where she will soon learn the truth about who she is and about all the monsters that are protecting her in the forest, and why all the villagers are afraid of her and doesn't want her to live anymore. She's a descendant of a witch, is all I can say, and it's scaring people because they think she's going to be as murderous and evil as the witch she comes from. It has that really dark fairy tale darkness to it, and it's very autumny. Like, when I read this, I just loved that it was raining outside and I had my tea and I was all snuggled up on the sofa, and it was just perfect for Halloween season in my opinion. The third book I have is A Beautiful Darkness by Fabienne Wellman. This one is like the first one I talked about. It has that cute art style, which makes it a little bit more creepy and unsettling in a sense. It all looks very cute, and I questioned if this was really a horror graphic novel when I started it, but it took a turn. And I do love that it has this cute style because it makes it more unsettling. Like I said, I just feel like it adds to the story so much. In this story, we follow a couple of creatures and small people living inside a dead girl's body. On this day, girl dies in the middle of the forest. They have to escape her body. With this, they are homeless and don't know what to do because they have lived in her body ever since she was born. So they try to make a living for themselves around her dead body. And you can see this little girl decaying in the background and nobody finding her, which is one of the unsettling things about this. It makes it a bit odd to see these bright colored creatures just living around a decaying body and all the maggots that's coming to the body when it's rotting and everything happening around. I also get the Lord of the Flies feeling to all the characters that survived and trying to make a living for themselves outside of their habitat or their new place, and it's really the strongest and the fittest before everything else. Yeah. I also have another book about witches, but this one is a bit different than other witch stories that I've seen. It's called Wytches and it's by Scott Snyder. In this book we follow a teenager called Sailor or Sail, and her parents are gonna start with her moving to a new town. Her mom is in a wheelchair, which is pretty cool because we don't get a lot of representations with people in wheelchairs. But in her previous city, she was bullied, and after an incident, the bully she disappears. And she's missing, and Sailor, she is accused of the disappearance of the bully, and she's blamed for that, and people think that she killed her because she was bullied. And Sailor has this memory of something inside a tree eating her up, like some big monster eating her up, but her parents tell her that she's probably just hallucinating and she hit her head, and that probably didn't happen at all. But even if they move to this new place, she is haunted by these creatures in the woods that are calling Sailor to come to them, and that they want her. These witches or monsters are not like the witches that we are used to see in media, and they are nothing but they are very unsettling to look at, and you have to basically stop thinking that everything you know about witches, just throw that to the side, and this is an entire new era of witches when you read it. My favorite about this graphic novel was not the story in itself, because I thought the story was rather okay and very... It felt like a normal story. You could see the ending coming a long way ahead of time, but I just love the art style of this. The art style and the colors just work so perfectly, and the way the witches look is so unsettling and creepy to me, and that's why I loved it so much. So if you want something with really cool design and really cool art style, I would recommend this one, because this one creeps under your skin really well. I have another book called Survivor's Club, and it's by Lauren Bukis, and I love this story. I love the story, I love the art, I loved everything about it. It's that kind of storyline that's come up recently, you know, with the last girl standing, or the person who survived this horror event and the killer is coming for them. Almost like the Halloween movies, you have them surviving Michael Myers, and he again comes out on Halloween, but this time he going to get his revenge, and will he survive another time? This one have the same kind of feeling to it. In this one, the storyline is a group of survivors who survived a different kind of weird event that happened 1987. You have someone who had a demonic possession, you have the grudge type of vengeance demon, you have a haunted video game, someone has a possessed murder doll, and all of these people, they gather up after they get an email, because this haunted video game is back, and it's connected to all of them because of the event that hadn't happened 1987. And they all have to struggle with going back in time and fighting their own demons that they never really handled at that time. But they also have to actually fight a threat that's happening right now. Some of the group's people are nice, some of them are not so nice, and you start questioning, did they end up becoming these horrible people because of what happened to them? Or were they horrible people already before this happened to them? I just love how all the characters seem so human and flawed in this one. It also have great storytelling, great art style, and I loved it. And if you want a lot of action and stuff happening, but also having like almost like a little bit of murder mystery going on, but also having all those creepy monster and possessed things with all the horrors in one comic or one graphic novel, this is it. Because it has everything. It has the haunted dolls, the haunted video games, you have the demonic grudge girl, you have the demonic possession house, and you have all of them in one story here. So if you want one in all, this is the perfect one. I also have one that is maybe a bit more known, and I felt like I had to bring it because it's Joe Hill, it's Stephen King's son. He written a graphic novel called Baskelful of Heads, which is one of my favorite that he have done. I've also read his Lock Key, but I think this Baskelful of Heads is more of my favorite and more up my alley when it comes to themes. But it's great. It's great for a rainy autumn day, and it has the mystery feeling to it. It also have the horror balance to it. But you know, bad stuff start happening after some prisoners get loose and they start terrorizing the town during a massive storm. So this storm cuts them off because they are on an island, and it cuts them off from the mainland. So they are stuck on this island, and after these prisoners get loose, a lot of things starts happening. It starts very cute with a couple cuddling and stuff, but then when the storm hits and the prisoners escape, stuff happens. But it also means that our main character, who is named June, she's going to try to save the day, and she's going to do this mystery thing and figure out who is the big bad wolf, you know, or the big bad guy. Is it the prisoners, or is it someone behind it? Well, the prisoners maybe just like a decoy of something bigger that's going on. June finds a Norse mythological axe, and when she uses this on people, she can chop people's heads off without them actually dying. And she goes through one bad guy after another, and she collects their heads in a basket, and they keep talking to her. In the beginning, I thought it was very unclear if she was driven insane because of what she has to do, or if it's actually magic, and this axe magically actually chops the head off and making them keeping alive. And I don't think it ever actually explained it, and I think it's something that we have to decide for ourselves, if it's her insanity talking, or if it makes sense it's a magic axe from the Norse. You know, I liked it as a Swede. What can I say? It's a Viking axe that doesn't kill people, and she still chops their heads off. Big thumbs up. We have another story called Behind You. It's like a one-shot horror story, and it's written by Brian Coldrick. This one is less... It is story, but it's less written story and more graphic. It's more pictures that's making you unsettled. They start with a big introduction from Joy Hill from the previous book, The Stephen King's Son, and I think he did a great job in the introduction. I thought it was spot on and really great. And then after the introduction, we get one big picture and then maybe one sentence. Sometimes it's puns, sometimes it's descriptions, and they are very different. But it's creepy stories of a character doing something and not realizing that it's something or someone behind them. And it can be people standing in line for the bus stop, and then in the picture you see something behind them. Or it could be a librarian walking, putting books up the shelf, but between the shelves further away there are some monsters lurking and stuff. It's not creepy, but I think the art style is really pretty, and I think a lot more people should read this, because it's so art oriented. It doesn't take a long time to read this, and it's a great fast read if you just want something cozy for a rainy day or a Halloween day. I think you should read it in one go. That's how I read it, and I do suggest that'd be a good choice. The last one I have on my list is a story about Antichrist, and it's called Babyteeth, and is written by Donny Cates. I recently read this myself, and I was very amazed about how good it was. I picked it up because of how the cover looked like, and it intrigued me. And to be honest, I didn't read what it was about. I actually thought it was a story about a vampire kid because of how the cover looks like, but oh boy was I wrong. we follow a 16-year-old girl, and one night in Salt Lake City, she gives birth to Antichrist. She realizes something off with her baby that she gives birth to because there's a big thunderstorm and a big earthquake going on every time she has her contractions when she's going to go into labor, and it just moves around. But as soon as she is done with the birth and the kid is out, everything just stops. So she knows there's something off with her kid by then. She's trying to learn how to have a kid and raise a kid when you're 16. That's really hard enough as it is, and I think the graphic novel does a really good job in showing how hard motherhood is. But then to also come to the horror aspect that it's not just a child, it's also the Antichrist, and he does not work as any baby does. And soon our main character realizes that her baby does not drink milk, and he doesn't want milk, but he wants blood, and he can only drink blood from either her or the father of the child. Which make it a bit more difficult, you know, to take care of your kid if you does not work like a normal kid. And how do you get that much blood to satisfy the baby, especially because the dad is not in the picture, but only she is? And then you also have to throw in like an ancient organization that is sending assassins to murder the baby because this organization does not want the new Antichrist to be born. Which makes it even harder to raise this kid. But lucky on our main character Sadie's side, she also have a really cool big sister who does everything for her, and her dad is an ex-marine and they help her really well. I just like this story. It was really good, both because it felt so real with being a teenage girl, having a kid and how to raise it and how everyone shuns you, but it also, because it has that realness, but then you also have the horror aspect of it being the Antichrist, and what do you do when your kid is evil and he wants blood and he's into stuff, and when he has a tantrum he summons demons, and what do you do with those demons? How do you murder a demon? And it's a fun read. It's really a fun read, and I do recommend having a look into that if you're into it. And these are the 8 suggestions I have right now. If you're into this video and you would like more, comment down below and give me a like so I know you like this video, and then I can maybe give you a part 2, because as you all know, I read very much and I can make multiple parts of this if you like. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful autumn day, and I hope much love to you all. Kisses and goodbye. Mwah.